This is David with BestRest Products, home of the cycle pump tire inflator that has a lifetime warranty. Today we're going to be doing an install of a Guglatech fuel filter on Steve's BMW G650GS Sertao. Every model is different, but we're going to show you how this works, this installation on this particular bike. We removed the seat just to make it easier to get to things. We're going to remove the 6 screws that hold the gas cap assembly to the bike. I've already loosened them and I gently pull it out of the way. This is already in there because we were working backwards on the filming, but one thing you want to do is always take and put a piece of cloth or a rag in that hole so that you don't drop something in there like your wedding ring. The other thing we had to do was to loosen this body panel screw up front so that we had working room to get to the fuel assembly. By simply lifting this up gently, we can remove this retaining ring, and now we can remove the red filler nozzle in order to do our work. What we found was that the filter that's specified for this bike, it's supposed to fit down from the top. But we didn't like that application and the way that it works, so Steve and I did some modifications that are going to follow in the next clips. It's a pretty clever system. Takes a little bit of work. If you're a home garage mechanic, you shouldn't have any trouble. Because Steve and I did it, you can do it too. So after we got the fuel cap removed and went to install the filter, we noticed that there were some fitment issues or applications that made it difficult to get this filter down inside from the top and still have the cap closed. It seems that the circumference of this filter is just a little bit too big to go down inside the way we would like. And when it did that, it was causing the bag to fold up like this, and it wouldn't give the maximum amount of material for filtration. So Steve and I put our heads to work and we came up with a Pennytech solution. We'll show you how that worked. The filter has a black ring, and what we did is we took and we removed about 1/8 of an inch of this ring using a saw and a pair of snips to snip that plastic out. What we end up with is an open C like this, with no more than about 1/8 of an inch. You can make it bigger if you want, but it's impossible to make it smaller. We also noted that when the red nozzle is in the tank, the majority of the tank is down here. So we wanted to make sure that when we oriented the filter, the most amount of material was towards the front of the bike. So we marked on the nozzle where it's going to go in relation to the wing of the filter. Then, because we've cut this C, it allows us to make this small enough to fit inside the nozzle in this fashion. We want to orient it to that hole or to the mark, and this is what we're going to end up with. This will be the application inside Steve's gas tank filtering the fuel. So how do we keep this filter from being pushed out when a gas tank nozzle goes inside? We're going to make a zip tie retainer that will hold this in place so that when we put this in, it will stay and it won't come out accidentally. We'll show you that process next. So we put our heads together on this and we came up with a solution that will hold the filter down below the red nozzle. It will allow the wing to be towards the front where the maximum amount of fuel is. The cut of the plastic rim allows the ring to get smaller and fit inside the red nozzle. I've located exactly where I want the wing to go, and I've marked where my C comes together on this nozzle. And I've got a couple of black marks. These black marks indicate where I'm going to take a red hot nail and make a hole through the red nozzle and through the plastic of the retainer ring on the Guglatech. And where I'm headed with this is I'm going to use a zip tie to hold this Guglatech filter in place, so there's no chance that I could accidentally push this down into the gas tank itself. It's a Pennytech field experience modification, but it'll work quite well. Now, should Guglatech have made a perfectly fitting filter for the G650GS? Yeah, perhaps this is probably a standard size that they use, and because that bike doesn't have that many riders anymore, they just didn't want to put the time and effort into it. So we're going to put a little time and effort into it ourselves, show you how to do it so you can proceed. Once again, I've marked where my C comes together. I've got my 2 nail holes. You hear the roaring of the stove over there, and that's where we're going to heat up this nail to where it's red hot. Don't try this at home unless you really know what you're doing. You're the kind of guy that inflates tires using ether or plays with matches in a fireworks factory. But Steve and I are comfortable with that, so we're going to go ahead with the next process. So here we have our red hot nail. Here we have our filter ready to go. Hey Steve, get me a can of gas in case I need to quench this.
Yes, we do.
Heat it again. There's one hole. And there's our second hole. Perfectly spaced. It goes exactly where I wanted it to go. Now it's a matter of cleaning things up, enlarging those holes for a small fuel-resistant zip tie, and we're ready for an installation. So I've done my penetration of the red nozzle through the plastic retaining ring of the Guglatech filter. There's my zip tie. I stick that through the hole, and then using a pair of hemostats, I always keep a pair on hand for this type of thing, and it also works out well with my second job, which is brain surgery. And I fit that through the second hole. And fit my zip tie securely. And we are ready to put this into the bike. Snip off the puppy dog tail. Now this filter can't come out of the nozzle. It's held mechanically in place. One final note, as Steve and I were talking about this process, I wanted to explain the reason I'm using a hot nail instead of drilling it. You can drill through the red plastic, but when you go to drill through the fabric of the filter, it may catch like a thread of carpet. We didn't want to run the risk of that. Plus, by using the nail, it also kind of fused the filter to the end of the red spout. And the other thing is that it was held in one place only, and we thought, well, if Steve was careless and he pushed that fuel nozzle down inside, he could upset the way the Guglatech was fitting inside this red tube. So we did the same thing on the other side. So now we have zip ties holding this filter in place mechanically on both sides, and there is absolutely no way that this filter can move in relation to the red filling nozzle. We're ready to install the filter inside the tank now. We have to put the sealing ring in place. We gently coil up the filter and feed it down into the tank. We use our installation tool to spread that out to get the maximum spread of the butterfly wing. And the red nozzle assembly is in place. On top of that goes the basal or retaining ring. And finally we come with the cap assembly, and we're going to put that in place. But because we're going to be working with screws around that opening, we're going to put a rag down in the hole. And now it's just a matter of putting all 6 screws back, putting the screw to hold the plastic piece, put the seat back in place, and we're ready to go for a ride. So what you've seen is the way that we modified Guglatech filter so that it would fit onto this bike better. That's not the way the factory would have us do it, but applying a little Yankee ingenuity, we came up with a really good solution, and we think it's better than they ever had hoped it would be. This is David with BestRest Products, home of the cycle pump tire inflator that has a lifetime warranty. We'll see you on the trail.